Benji. Thanks all of you for being here. It's an absolute honor being here on stage, and even more of an honor having Devconnect here in Buenos Aires. Okay, I'm going to piggyback on some of what Isabel and Mariano have already been talking about. And I'm going to start with a personal anecdote, if you guys don't mind. And no, this anecdote is not going to be about money. It's not going to be about financial struggles. It's going to be about something a little more personal. When I was a kid, there was this show on TV called Big Man's World. It was about a mad scientist who would basically explain science to kids using wacky experiments with a rat as a sidekick. And it was plenty of fun. And the nerd in me really loved it. And on every show, they would place that slide on saying, hey, if you want to send your questions to Big Man to get them answered, to participate in the show in a way, just send a letter to that address. Yes, this was letter. Email didn't exist back then. I'm old, sorry. And I remember going to my parents one day and asking them, hey, can I send a letter? Can I participate in the show? Can I ask my questions to this guy? And they said, honey, these are reruns. Haven't you noticed that it's the same episodes you're seeing over and over again? This is a show that aired in a completely different part of the world years ago, and we're just getting the reruns a couple of years later. It's not something you can participate in. And that was the first time that I can remember that it rang to me, that I was somehow apart, right? That I was far away from the world, from this media I was consuming. There was a difference, there was a barrier that I couldn't access. And as the internet came along, this was consistent. Like, probably for those of you who come from the US or from Europe are not too familiar with the screens, it was very common to see content that you couldn't see. Like, hey, this is the thing that's happening, but sorry, you're not in a civilized enough country to see it. Mandatory XKCD here, yes, this was plenty annoying. Like the fact that just because I was sitting in a computer from a different location, even though it was the same computer connected to the same internet, I was cut off from it. It was sort of infuriating. And it goes a little bit beyond that. It's not just how we could access the world. Oh, sorry, talking about myself personally, how I could access the world, but also how the world reflected back at us. Like, how did we see ourselves portrayed in mass media? I'm not going to pick on the blatant errors from Hollywood movies. Sorry, including them. So yeah, I'm going to pick on them. Like a 2-minute Google search would have told them that, no, those places are not there and not real, for Christ's sake. But the recurring meme, the recurring trope that we see around Argentina was a place to escape, a place so far that you can start over and reset. Whether it's the trope of, yeah, all Nazis fled here, that's from a Simpsons episode where Bart randomly dials Buenos Aires and Hitler picks up, or someone in a troubled romantic relationship flies to this faraway place that is Argentina and finds herself with a Spanish singer in a tropical beach. Never mind. Or end up in a location that, for those of you who have already visited downtown, know that actually doesn't exist. It's just a mishmash of other locations. But the recurring thing that we would hear is Argentina is far away. It's so far away that's a place where you reset, where you start over, where everything is wiped clean. That's how remote this place is. That quote is from Dexter episode from years ago. I actually went into the Dexter wiki to try and find it and found that beautiful description of Argentina. Argentina is a location in a show. Oh, and by the way, it's also a real place, just so you guys know it. So what we get is we're far away, right? We're cut off. And by far away, I don't mean just geographically speaking, as most of you who have traveled here have endured on the plane. Hey, it's payback time. We always have to deal with this when we go somewhere else. Well, my point is, being so far away, so cut off from this rest of the world, if you will, I think it's no wonder that when we found the technology where decentralization is not a bug, but a feature, that it's an asset, we jumped into it, right? Okay, let me actually start with what I want to talk about to you today, now that I've given you some context of where I'm coming from. I want to talk about two things mainly. One of them, shield what Argentinians have been doing in crypto for these past 10 years or more. And also go a bit through what are the different people, the different profiles, the different backgrounds that we need to build Ethereum. And the point I want to drive home in this talk is we need diversity in Ethereum. We need geographical diversity. We need different areas of expertise. We need different domains. We need as many people to jump in to build what we want to build. So let me start with a bit of history. Ethereum history in Argentina starts around 2012, and it starts with Bitcoin for a very simple reason. There was no Ethereum yet. If you manage to read the organizer there for the Bitcoin meetup, that's Wences Casares, who eventually went on to found Sapo, that would be joined by Ripio, Satoshi Tango, a couple of years later. This is 2013, 2014. A couple of years later, then other major exchanges like OneBit, Velo, Lemon would come along and join, all of them Argentinian founders. Bitcoin meetups would eventually mutate into the actual formation of the Bitcoin Argentina, or NGO, who would organize La BitConf, one of the greatest Bitcoin conferences in the world. Last iteration was just a couple of weeks ago. And it would even lead to the development of non-financial applications on Bitcoin. Screenshot there is from Proof of Ethereum, built by local developer, Manu Arauz. And I'm going to pick on Manu for a second, because he's also the guy who founded Voltaire, which was, the Voltaire House was a co-working space, out of which many of the early projects of Ethereum came out from Buenos Aires. It's also dear to my heart, because it's also where I met crypto. I found myself in Voltaire one day, almost by chance. Remember sitting next to this guy and being like, hey, nice to meet you, I'm Pala. I work on Web 2. Well, not Web 2, because it was the web, right? Like there wasn't another web. What do you do? And he told me, oh, I work on smart contracts on Ethereum. And what the hell? Yeah, it was built. So out of Voltaire, some of the most recognizable projects of Argentina came out. Open Zeppelin, Decentraland, Nomic, who are the guys behind Hardhat, and the Moon Wallet for Bitcoin. But these are just the ones that started. The Argentina ecosystem now is a lot bigger than that. And I'm so sorry for all the teams that I'm missing from this slide. But what I want to drive home is that Argentina has given the crypto ecosystem many projects, many major projects, and even for projects that are not on that list, pretty much every team has an Argentinian in them, if you look close enough. For some reason, well, not for some reason, for everything that we have been discussing so far, like the rate of Web3 to Web2 developers in Argentina is almost 3 times than that of the US. Hell, even where I work at Aztec Labs, 1 in 6 engineers is Argentinian, and I'm talking about a company created in the UK. We love Web3. We're naturally drawn to it. I think that the reasons are half of them what Isa also mentioned on her first talk during this block, and also maybe this feeling of being cut off and finding in Ethereum a place where we can build, we can thrive, and we're welcome. So let me share a few more anecdotes. Again, not about money, but about the kind of things that these infiltrated Argentinians in the Web3 ecosystem have been building, have been working on. For me, my first experience into Web3 was auditing a smart contract language. It was Serpent. If you haven't heard of it, it's because we destroyed it. Coming from 10 years of professional development And all of a sudden, landing into an ecosystem where something I did from an office 15 minutes from here, from this venue, would end up having an impact where, well, the guy who created the technology would publicly say, hey, no, do not use this language anymore. Like, there was a very direct impact, a very direct reach that I saw that I could have from, again, from this corner of the world on this global technology that was being built at the moment. And like the security community here in Argentina is incredible. There have been major critical vulnerabilities spotted by Argentinians in ENS. That one's from the Red Guild, fantastic. If you ask me, one of the most underappreciated teams in security in the whole ecosystem. These guys are fantastic. They also spotted, also Argentinians, critical bugs on MakerDAO, or hell, even a supply chain attack on SMS that was leading to the stealing of hundreds of Telegram accounts. By the way, daily reminder, do not use SMS for 2FA, please. We also contributed a lot to standards. My first 5 years in crypto were at OpenZeppelin. I had the chance to, for instance, build the ERC 1021 contract, along with one guy who's sitting over there, and Facu Español as well. Hell, that code would eventually power the NFT craze a couple of years later. It was written from here. There are over 20 improvement proposals authored by Argentinians. Granted, half of them are just by Fran, but still, that counts. Hell, smart contract library, written and maintained originally by just 2 Argentinian developers, Nico and Fran. Nowadays, handles over $200 billion in assets. All of that code originally maintained from here. If you have interacted with any of these protocols, know that you have interacted most likely with contracts that were deployed from Argentina, from a guy sitting in a computer around here. Like Mariano was saying a couple minutes ago in his own talk, like site deployment was actually happened from an apartment in Almagro, in a neighborhood half an hour from here. And again, like this is just without counting all the local teams that I already mentioned. So we even built, you had Fed a couple minutes ago talking about all the things that are building from Lambda, including an execution environment on their own. Like there are right now nodes on the Ethereum network that are powered by code written here, and contracts that are built using frameworks also developed by Argentinian developers. Hell, Hardhat has 1/3 of a million dependent projects as on GitHub today. And we also like to bring a little bit of ourselves also to our contributions. Mariano skipped this one, but one of his most significant projects in a hackathon was actually Sellout DAO, which was actually a smart contract for bribes. Like, you could literally buy his voting power via smart contract. And yes, what you see there is a statue to bribes. It's on 9 de Julio, and I think 9 de Julio and Moreno, not too far away from here. Yes, there is a public building with a statue on the side. It's a statue that honors bribes. I'll let you draw your own conclusions from that. By the way, all of this is compiled in a beautiful initiative by the Crecimiento team. You can check out that website. It has a massive timeline of all contributions from Argentinians to Ethereum, to crypto in general. And to piggyback on something that Mariano said just a couple of minutes ago, this is probably over-indexed on things that happened a couple of years ago, maybe an artifact of me being an old guy by this time. But there is a new generation, there are new developers also flowing in and putting so much energy in the ecosystem. That's beautiful and it's inspiring. And they're also making major contributions. Actually, I want to stop on one. Yesterday, there was the Ethereum Cypherpunk Congress on privacy. On the main stage, you would have Vitalik demoing Kohaku, the new privacy wallet. And an hour later, on the secondary stage, almost hidden on the top floor, we held a panel which included one of the developers, who was the girl that was actually building Kohaku wallet, who's Argentinian and works a couple of blocks from here. But all of these contributions, all of these things that Argentina brings to Web3 were not enough. We wanted to do more. We wanted to bring Ethereum here. And spoiler alert, since you're sitting here, yes, we succeeded. This all started in 2018 in ETH Buenos Aires, which was the first ETH Global Community Hackathon. It brought hundreds of people from all over the world. Shout out to Martina Ornella, who organized pretty much the whole thing by themselves, and eventually mutated into meetups that would welcome people like Andreas Antonopoulos, like Evgeny from Zerion, like Jorge from Aragon, like people from all over the world that were actually coming to a basement in Area 3, again, not too far away from here, and join us in our crazy meetups. Yes, eventually, this would lead to a talk by Mariano in DevCon 5. The talk was called Living on DeFi, How We Survive Argentina's 50% Inflation. Now that number seems cute after having gone to 300% inflation. But yeah, you have already seen that picture in Mariano's presentation. What he didn't show is that, hey, I actually still have the t-shirt. We actually printed t-shirts saying DevCon Buenos Aires 2020 to try to meme that into existence. I have saved this for over 5 years. I'm proud to be showing it now. So, you know, we made it. I can't explain how proud, how honored I am that finally Devconnect came here. It's incredible. It's pretty much a dream come true. And I think it makes sense not just because I love this country, but also because it really shows that Ethereum is putting their conference where their mouth is, right? It's like all this ethos about decentralization actually shows that it's significant, that it's acted upon by hosting the conference here and leveraging the existing talent that there is, that hopefully I've convinced that there is, and also piggybacking on the existing user base. Pretty much 1 in 5 Argentinians holds crypto. Decentralized or centralized, we can argue for a long time on whether holding crypto in a centralized exchange is actually holding crypto or not. But these are people who already have crypto, who have already been exposed to that, and they're an existing user base for you to tap into and try to ship new things, new products, and see what can be built. Let me shift gears for a second. I know I've been shilling like how awesome Argentina is for hosting an event, for local talent, for everything. But the point I actually want to make is that if Ethereum worked here in this corner of the world, like far apart, it can work everywhere. Like I think that Argentina is the example, it's just an example that shows that Ethereum is a technology that is actually borderless and can work in any corner of the world. And if Ethereum is a technology that can work everywhere, I think it's also worth stopping and seeing that it also works for everyone, no matter the domain, and everyone is actually needed to build Ethereum. And with that, I want to move on to the second part really quickly on who are the people needed for building Ethereum. Granted, I know we're in a conference called Devconnect, and Dev stands for something, so for sure, we need the developers, coding smart contracts, coding dApps, coding whatever have you. But developers need languages to build on, languages specific to smart contracts, languages to build, that bridge other languages into the EVM, into other chains, that let them build privacy features, that let them work low level, that let them formally verify their contracts. And that needs specialized skill sets. Ethereum thrives on tokens. Like probably the first contract you learn whenever you jump into Ethereum is how to write an ERC20. But tokens need a reason to be. And for that, we have people who work in incentive design, in mechanism design, in incentives, in economics, in tokenomics. Hell, Ethereum even created a brand new discipline out of tokenomics. Or hell, if you will, memetics, if you are into coins backed just by an emoji. And again, like, this is not a technical feature. This is not something that requires much technical prowess. The creator of Uniswap jumped into smart contracts hardly knowing how to code. And, well, he built quite something. and other major feats in DeFi, again, were not powered by massive technical leaps. They were powered by network effects, by memetics. Anyone remember the sushi swap vampire attacks? It was literally the same code base, just with different incentives. We have gone through NFTs that have gone from status symbols to the way that artists can express them on chain. And they actually were one of the main things that made it into mass media, into mass popular culture. We have had experiments in social coordination, in governance. The DAO was pretty much one of the first big things in Ethereum. We have built toolboxes for creating new governance schemes and experiment on them and play with them. And try to rally people around random causes, whether it's public funding or, what if we buy the US Constitution for whatever reason? We need people also that bridge the gap towards the more traditional work. We had Danny Ryan this morning talking specifically about this, which is, like it or not, needed if we want real-world Ethereum adoption. And on the other end of the spectrum, we also have the pirates, the cypherpunks. In particular, I pick flashbots for these guys, because I really love the approach these guys took, right? For those of you who don't know, flashbots works around MEV, out extractable value. And what these guys did was realize that there was a problem, that there was value being extracted by builders, by miners back at the time, and democratized it. They illuminated the dark forest, in their own words, and built the tools so that anyone could participate in that value, so that anyone, just by having the knowledge and not by requiring a massive amount of money or compute or network, they could actually participate in that. It was truly a democratization of the access to that value. Again, we need, as already mentioned, people on security. Web3 and security is so much important than in Web2. Also, the payouts are different. Microsoft nowadays is paying $40K for a critical remote vulnerability. Remote code execution vulnerability. Probably reason why this is so important in Web3 is because of that. We get hacks pretty often, with a shout out to my favorites. We also need cryptographers. Cryptographers not just enable new fancy things like snarks for privacy or for scalability of zero-knowledge rollups. Cryptography is in the core of Ethereum, whether blobs are powered by KCG commitments, BLS signatures power the consensus network nowadays. Node operators run the network at actually executing the software where our protocol runs. And last but not least, we need the researchers, we need the people, the core teams who are actually pushing forward the evolution of the protocol itself. That's from the merge. Remember, you used to have proof of work, and at some point we moved to proof of stake, all the while keeping a 100% uptime. This is amazing. And again, this was all powered by a very, very, very diverse group of people. If you just pick a group of developers, and I myself, I'm a developer, we cannot build this. And I know this is something probably not popular to say in a conference called Devconnect. But my point is Ethereum is a technology meant to run everywhere and meant for everyone and to be built by everyone, from every background, from every place in the world. So with the 1 minute I have left, I want to pick a quote from Jorge Luis Borges. The Crecimiento team picked Aleph as the name for their hub, for their co-working space. And I think it's a very, very good metaphor, and it also applies here to Devconnect. Aleph in this story is a point in space that contains every single other point, beyond space, beyond time. And I think that's what we got here, right? We got now 15,000 people who are interested in this technology, all together, all in the same space, undiminished, with the capability to build something new. So what I ask you to do during these days is to connect with other people, to gather feedback on what you're building, to try to find partners, builders, users, investors, to get out of your bubble, out of your comfort zone, and talk to as many people as you could, meet new people, interact with new people, and remember that innovation thrives on diversity. Whether it's geographical, it's from backgrounds, it's from ideologies. So please, connect, build together, and enjoy this week. Thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you so much. I think you covered pretty much all of the things around Ethereum, around the culture of Ethereum, around the technical properties of it as well, all in one talk. That's very impressive. I don't think I've ever seen someone do all of that in one go. So a couple questions that we have. I think the one that I found most interesting, especially when you talk about use cases, is what is something you would like to see get built on Ethereum that has not been built yet?
Oh, that's a very good question. I want to see something as far away from payments and finance as possible. I think that we over-index on financial applications probably. And Ethereum is so much more than that. It's a coordination layer for social, for new experiments, for building different kinds of trust and networks of people. I want to see more stuff built around that. I think with a stronger focus on community as opposed to strictly money.
What's great is I think like you're one of the few people that I've seen that kind of like have gone through all the different routes of Ethereum, where like you are on chain, you're going through the culture route, you talk about NFTs, you're doing like deep cryptography stuff. What was it that clicked for you? Like, was there a specific moment in your life where you're like, I have to dedicate my life to this? Is there some event?
It's a very good question. I think it's when I was actually the very first moments that I was starting working on it, actually tinkering with the tech. This was early 2017, and everything was so broken. Nothing worked. I swear, you wanted to compile something to build, to deploy. The entire tool chain was a mess. Honestly, and at the same time, it was something that it was clearly had a lot of potential, that it had everything to be huge. That's when I wanted to jump in, where I said, okay, we need to put things in order. We need to make this available to build something bigger. And now is the time that we can jump into it and steer it in the right direction.
Switching on to Argentina.
Yeah.
Would you recommend Web3 founders move to Argentina?
Move to Argentina.
Existing founders.
For sure, visit Argentina at the very least. Moving is a very personal life decision, and I don't want to get into that. But yeah, I think that aside from being a beautiful, beautiful country with a lot to see, it shows a place where crypto adoption is more real, more honest, if you will, where crypto is used. Well, Isabel made a much better case around economics than I did. But I think that genuine adoption leads to also a genuine user base to actually build something from there.
Yeah, totally. I've been like virtual remote working my entire life, and the Aleph co-working hub was the only place my entire time in crypto where I can be in a room and everyone's working in crypto as well.
Yep.
Very rare. I don't think there's another place in the world that comes close to that. And that's a clear thing, and especially with users. Speaking of users, do you have like an ideal set of users that you wish, or like set of people in the world that you wish were more into crypto?
Very good question. Apart from a group of friends from high school, I guess. Yeah, speaking seriously, I think that I would like pretty much everyone to be into it, but at the same time not to be into it, in the sense that I don't want crypto to be visible front and center to them. Crypto, sure, for us it's an ethos, like we build around it, etc., etc. But for common people and for mass adoption, should be another tool. Like, I want people don't think what's using the bank for storing their funds, if it's an Oracle or a SQL database. I want crypto to be transparent to people.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vinci.
See you.